How's it going, guys? Anxious Cynic back again with another Mine-imator tutorial. And today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I want to go over kind of an animating tutorial here. So it may not be quite as refined as I'm sure you're used to with my tutorials being extremely polished and refined. But it may not be quite as refined as usual because I kind of want to go through the steps with you guys of how to animate something and hope that we can all learn something along the way. Instead of me just kind of showing you point to point like how to do something and not going through the process 100%. Today we're going to show how to animate a slime bouncing, and this is a principled kind of tutorial to show you how you can do it with a slime, but this principle can apply to other blocks and characters and things in Mine-imator. It's the best character to use for the example that I have, if that makes sense. So since we're working with a little bit of a smaller character here, I'm going to blow him up just a bit, make him a medium-sized slime there. And we're going to go from there. A little note here, I'm using the tempo at 30. And normally I would use default, which is 24. But I bumped it up to 30 because I found that the frames and the times seem to sync up a little bit better when you're on 30 tempo. Meaning that 30 frames in Mine-imator is 1 second of time. I'm not 100% sure on this. I haven't really experimented with it, but it's something we're going to try for this tutorial and see how it looks and how it works out. So some of you have asked me about that, so there's a little tidbit. So what we want to show is a slime bouncing, kind of a walk cycle more or less, and how you accomplish this realistically, kind of showing inertia and physics and things like that. I would say realistically, but this is Minecraft, so we're going to just try to make it look as good as we can. So let's just have him sit there for about a second, and then we're going to have him kind of go down into a pre-jump position. So I'm going to untick the scale in all directions box here so that way we can get our X, Y, and Z properties. And again, for me it's Z, for you it may be Y, it depends on how your settings are set up. So whatever is the height of the character adjustment, for me it's Z, so just remember, if for you it's Y, then when I say Z, you say Y. That could be a rap song. Anyway, so what we want to do is I just kind of want to have him pop down just a tad, like he's kind of gearing up to jump. So he goes, like that. And let's just give this a little bit of a transition, maybe an ease in and out quadratic. Doesn't look too bad for that short duration of time between these two keyframes. This doesn't really give the transition a lot of time to do much, but we'll just go with that. And let's just go a few frames, maybe just a few frames like that. And we're going to have him just pop down just a bit more. Let's just go to like 1.5 so he kind of has that moment right before he jumps. And we're going to tilt this slightly. Let's see, do we want to give him a folder controller? Yeah, let's go ahead and give him a folder to control him a little bit. So we're going to do like this. And let's highlight these, and we want to make sure our folder is kind of in the middle of his character, just in case we want him to spin or something. So let's have it go. Let's come back over here, and we're going to bring the character down. What is it going to be? About 8, maybe? Whoops, not 58. There we go. 8, and then we're going to bring the folder up 8. If you're familiar with my tutorials, then you know I do this little folder trick for the advanced rotation points that I like to use and whatnot. Anyway, for now we're going to ignore the folder. That's what we're going to actually use. Let's just say we're going to call it slime mover. So the folder is probably what we will be using if we want to rotate the character much or anything. It kind of depends, but we'll see. It's what we're going to use to make him move for the walk cycle. Sorry about being wordy, but it's one of these kind of raw tutorials. So anyway, so we've got him coming down here. And then he kind of goes into this sudden downward thing. And let's just see if we can use the folder here. Or maybe we'll actually use the body. Let's drop him down a little bit more. Essentially, the body is the same thing as the slime. But as you can see here, it's got its own rotation point. And we can kind of animate it. So we'll use this for the rotation just a tad. Let's just have him go about 2, maybe? Something like that. He kind of goes down and rotates slightly. That might be a bit much. Let's just try 1. This might not look 100% like how we would want it to look in the end, but we'll get the basics of it. All right, so what we're going to do is at this point, he's going to spring up. We want him to spring up and have a nice big jump. So I'm just going to take him and I'm going to move him up. Let's just say, I don't know, maybe he'll move about 16. That should be about, 16 would be what, a full block or something? We would have him move a little bit higher in an actual animation, but we'll just go with that for now. We may adjust it in a moment. So he's going to go up, and one of the things we want to do is take his scale, and we're going to bump it up because we want the slime to stretch out. So let's just say about 2.5. Because he's kind of a jello-y, moldable kind of character, and of course, like you could use it on a character that's non-jello if you wanted to kind of have a more cartoony look. So like I said, we're going to use a slime to kind of cover these principles, but you could apply it however you wanted to. So he comes up, and as you can see, he kind of stretches a bit, and then we're going to have him come back down, and we're going to have that be, let's just say like this, and do like so. Or actually, you know what? I messed up. Let's actually use the folder to do this part. Hopefully that's right. I'm expecting to make all kinds of mistakes, so just bear with me, please. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do this. So what you can see is we have the character on the ground here, and I've created all 3 keyframes. So all I have to do now is go to the one where he's supposed to be at the height of his jump, and we can just raise it up. So let's see, we want him to go up 16, so that's going to be about 24 for our folder position here. Sorry if this is confusing. Hopefully you guys can understand what I'm trying to do here. And when that happens, he's going to do that. And what we're going to do now is actually use the character here for the stretch that we want to do, since we got rid of those keyframes. Let's give him a little bit, yeah, we'll go 2.5 on this. And then on this point, I'm going to actually bring it up just a bit more. We'll see what that looks like. So we're going to go 2.8. So what happens is he jumps up and it kind of stretches out and then comes back down and stretches out even more. And then when he hits, we're going to have him squash back down just a bit. Let's say about 1 point. Well, you know, we kind of want him to go down a little ways, so maybe we'll do an exaggerated 1.2. And for the rotation of the body, let's have this come back right around here. This isn't so bad. We'll leave this at 1.5, kind of have him still tilted forward just a tad. Or we could make him actually tilt forward even more. Maybe since we're going with a kind of forward jump, like he's going to be moving forward like a walk cycle. And then for this one, when he's coming back down, let's actually have him kind of reverse just a bit. And then at this point, we will have him flatten out again. So let's see what that looks like. All right, so far does not look very good. So let's see what we can do to fix this. So let's see if we can use some transitions to make this look a little bit better. Let's see. One, I didn't experiment with this before, and I found that this one worked. I'm not sure I'll be able to get it to work again, but we'll see how it goes. And for this one, maybe we'll try the ease in. So basically what we have here is an ease out circular and an ease in sine. Now this may not be what we end up going with, but this is what we're going to try. So as you can see there, that gives it a little bit of like a woo kind of springs up, and he gets some, like it's inertia, like the momentum kind of dissipates as he gets up to the height of the jump, and then he just kind of slowly begin to come back down and increase speed until he hits the ground. And since we have this kind of motion here, if you watch my moving blocks tutorial, then we actually want him to come forward just a tad here, maybe just a bit, something like that, so it doesn't look like he slides on the ground. If you can see there, that's maybe not 100%, but it's a little bit better than it was. We can actually bring him forward just a tad more. All right, so one thing that I do want to change is I feel like he's not going up high enough, so let's try bringing him up just a bit more. There we go. All right, so as you can see here, we're getting this kind of realistic motion, somewhat realistic. He kind of squashes and stretches, and we definitely want to get some transitions on those as well, though. So let's see. With the squash and stretch, we want to kind of make this, because he goes down real quickly, and then he's going to spring up. So we may want this to kind of have an ease in transition, maybe, something like that. And then this one we may want to, let's just try, it probably would be an ease in, but we're just going to have some fun and go with an ease out on this one and see what that looks like. Alright, so let's see here, maybe we'll go with an ease in and out on that one and see what that looks like. Maybe not. Alright, let's see with the ease in what that gives us. So as you can probably tell, the rotation on his jump is kind of wonky for us. So let's have him actually go a little bit more on the rotation. We're going to give him some transitions and see if we can make this smooth out just a bit. So we've got this. We may want it to go... Let's see. Let's give this one an ease out. And this one, let's see. Let's try an ease in just for the fun of it. I feel like that doesn't do exactly what I want. Let's give this one an ease out, ease in. Let's see. Let's try go with that was quadratic. Let's go with sine. That's not too bad. And let's see here. I'm not sure I'm happy with this one. This is ease out sine. What if we went with quadratic again? Alright, and zoom in on our timeline here with the mouse wheel. Let's move these in just a tad to change up our timing. Maybe move it out. Let's see what this looks like. Alright, so that's not working. The 80 actually seems to be working a little bit better for us right now. Alright, we definitely want to work on the thing we're getting here. Let's try giving it the same transition. One thing you may want to do when you're animating is just play with the transitions and kind of get an idea of what's working and what isn't, you know. Going from one extreme to another can really give you an idea of where you need to end up. And yeah, so that should hopefully work a little better. Let's give it this one. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, that is not what we want at all. Let's try this one. Oh, nope. I feel like the ease out is kind of what we want though, but just finding the right one is proving to be a little tricky. This one, you got this, but what if we gave it the ease out sign? It's not too bad. And on this one, let's see if we can give this something a little bit fun. Let's give it a, where would we go? Bounce maybe? So as you can see there, it kind of hits the ground and bounces, but it's obviously way too quick, so we would want to bring this one out. Alright, I feel like some of this isn't working out the way I want it to. I think the timing may be one of the things that's kind of throwing it off, so let's try that. Let's bring this over so that these keyframes aren't like 100% aligned. So we do like that, and then we want it to kind of stretch out more, right? Maybe it's just not stretched far enough. Let's go up to 3. We really want this to kind of happen in a interesting way. Maybe instead of doing it exactly like that, maybe we'll do something with our keyframe transitions here, actually. So this goes from 2.5, and then we're ultimately going up to 3. So maybe we'll make this one bump up to 2.8, so we have this kind of moment of where it stretches out kind of more suddenly there, a little bit further than it would between these two keyframes by themselves. So we're going to kind of force it to more rapidly stretch a bit more and then finish stretching until it gets to this point. And then we have that bounce there, but I'm not sure I'm happy with that bounce. Let's try ease out bounce. That's still not perfect, but I feel like it looks a little bit better to me at the moment, so we'll go with that. All right, so that's pretty much a decent little bounce there. It's not as perfect as I would like it to be, but I think that's a pretty good example. So what you got here is you've got the controller here, so this is only going to be dictating where the position of the character is at a given time. So that way you can focus on the actual character's keyframes to deal with the squash and stretch of the scaling, and then you can use the body to adjust the rotation. So all of these can have their own transitions and their own keyframes, and as you can see here, we can offset the keyframes so that things kind of work more in our favor, and just it's an added level of complication, but it gives you much more control to get a better result. If you saw there how things were looking from the beginning, then you kind of have an idea of what was, how the, things might not be going exactly the way you want it to. Let's also try moving this keyframe over and doing a similar thing as we did with the squash and stretch. So we've got this kind of going like that, and we may want to have this kind of level out a bit more. Maybe something like that. Somewhere in between there. Let's see what that looks like. All right, so it kind of goes a little bit in an unwanted way. Let's try to give this one an ease in. Maybe that's a little bit too far. Let's have it go like that. Maybe a bit more over here. Alrighty, so that looks okay. We'll go with that for now. I think that's where we'll leave this. Let's actually take this and do our little timeline selection tool here. If you're not sure about what that is, then I recommend you watch my tip video where I mentioned it. And let's play this in a loop. Alright, that doesn't look too bad. And let's get rid of that. And let's have this come up back. We want it to kind of come back to its original state there. But what we can do, like if you were actually going to use this to move the character, then we'll actually just use this keyframe and we'll copy these. So I'm going to box select all these and I'm going to hit Control C on my keyboard, or you can come down here and hit this button to copy the selected keyframes, and then this button here to paste them. I'm just going to use Control C and then Control V on my keyboard, and let's see what that gives us. So you may notice here that it actually looks kind of weird at that point where he's he's doing his little bouncing back up to full size again. We can try to remedy that by giving it a transition. Let's see what that looks like. Not too bad, not too bad. Another thing you'll notice is we have this slight move on the body there since we had things moving. But that can be corrected. If you watch my advanced walk cycle video, then you kind of have an idea of how things like that might be correctable. So there's your basic movements, but of course we may want him to actually move. So there's a couple of ways we can do this. If you watch my advanced walk cycle tutorial, then you can do the thing like I said, or we can actually just add another folder. This is kind of getting more complicated, but so let's just have it go. This point when he jumps, we want to have him just go a little ways. So this could be trial and error a little bit. Let's have it come over. Let's just say he jumps like 32 pixels or something and see what that looks like. That doesn't look too bad right there. And then we'll go ahead and create another keyframe. We want this to stay the same since he's not moving. And wherever he goes to jump again, which would seem right around here, we'll just move that keyframe there. And then that's where he jumps again. And then right here when he lands. So since 32 frames or 32 pixels seem to work, we're going to just double that to 64 and see what this looks like. All right, so we're getting a little bit of unwanted slide there. This isn't lining up the way it's supposed to. Maybe if we just bring this back, how will that work? Nope, that's not what we want. All right, so we'll do that. Okay, so the issue we're having here is the initial jump that I did here is kind of if you were going to do a starting jump. So we have these pauses and like he goes down and all this kind of stuff. On the second one, you probably don't need that. You just want to go from this position up to the jump, basically. So we're just going to get rid of all those keyframes before the actual jump keyframes and put them right about there so they're about 5 frames apart, and see what that looks like. I think that looks a little bit better. Let's start it from the beginning. Jumps, jumps. All right, that looks good enough for now. This tutorial's kind of gone on long enough, so hopefully if you guys don't really like the way that turns out, you can kind of get an idea of how you would rectify that for yourselves. And yeah, but that's just kind of a basic idea of how you can use transitions and the squash and stretch of scaling and whatnot to kind of give a character a little bit more organic look when he's doing something like this. Obviously, some of these movements are a little bit exaggerated. You might not want it to look quite that crazy, but yeah, doesn't look too terrible. It could use some refinement, but anyway, I hope that gives you guys the basic ideas and the basic technique of how you can do something like this, and I hope you guys have fun with it and make funny and cool looking things with it and whatnot. So anyway, that's going to be it for me, guys. As always, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope it was helpful in some way. I hope you learned something. If you did, feel free to hit that like button, comment, and subscribe to become a citizen today. If you want to support me more directly, the Patreon link is in the description. If not, that's totally fine, but the option is there if you want to. And with that, I am out. So thanks for joining me, guys, and I will see you in the next video.